Hello there, welcome back to Simon's Shed, and it's time for a video that I've been meaning to do for a very long time, and finally got around to it, and that is a review of the Roco Fleischmann Z21 DCC system. There are two versions of this. The version that I have, which is the white box with the lowercase z. There's also a black box with a capital Z. Now, the white box is only available with train sets. However, a lot of people split these up from train sets and sell them on eBay, which means for around £125, sometimes more, sometimes less, because obviously it's eBay and it varies a little bit. You can pick up one of these that's been split out from a train set, which is, in my opinion, an absolute bargain for such a capable system. I'll show you more of what it does later. As I say, there's the black box version with the capital Z, and that has a few more features, a few more ports that you can plug stuff into. I'll go into more detail later, but that's just like a standalone system. You can buy that separately from any train set, and that is about £330 in UK sterling, so obviously a lot more money. But as I say, I'll go through the additional features and you can decide whether they're important enough to you for the extra cost. Obviously eBay, if you are going to pick up the white one, or you know, buy the, if you are into HO, because it's a European manufacturer, it's by Fleischmann Roco. It's HO scale, so it comes with a lot of HO scale train sets. So obviously, if you are just getting into that and you are into HO, then that's fine. You can just buy the whole train set if that suits your needs. But if you are going to pick one up on eBay, obviously usual things apply when dealing with eBay. Check their feedback. You know, be very careful. Make sure you understand whether it's coming from the UK or whether it's coming from Germany, and yeah, just be careful. Right, so in terms of the white one then that I've got, let's see what you get. So of course, there's the main bit itself. This is the main sort of brains of the system that controls everything. That is the Z21 unit. Now, the Z21 is primarily aimed at allowing you to control your layout with an iPhone, an Android device, or an iPad. And obviously, to talk to any of those, you're going to need a wireless connection. So they provide this wireless router, standard network cable to plug the wireless router into the Z21 so they can talk to each other. You get a couple of leads just to connect it to the track with this kind of connector, so you get a couple of those, and obviously you get the plug for the Z21 transformer to power it, and you get the plug for the router. Now, because this is a German product, it will come with Euro 2-pin plugs. So one thing to check when you are looking on eBay is whether it comes with any, and if you are in the UK, whether it comes with any 3-pin adapters. If it doesn't, it's not the end of the world. You can pick up something like this, which you can see has a space in there where that plugs into, and if you search Euro 2-pin to 3-pin adapter, I've just seen these on Amazon for £1.90 each, so it's not going to be a problem. And literally all you do is just, not like that, all you do is just slot that over there and push it in. Problem solved. We also get a load of paperwork, instructions and so on. So let's get all this out of the way and start with the Z21. So we have two XBus ports. Now they enable you to plug in an old handheld controller. So you can actually, as well as using it with the iPad or iPhone or Android device, you can actually use a controller with a twisty knob on that you can, there's a list of compatible ones provided in the instructions or online, but that's a useful thing to have. So that's what the XBus thing is for, additional controllers. If we have a look at the back, it's very simple. You got LAN, that goes into the wireless router using the network cable. RBus is feedback, so you can plug in feedback modules for things like, you know, detecting whether a train's on a bit of track, on a certain section of track. So that's quite an advanced thing. I've not used it, but it's good to know that it's there. B-bus is booster, so if you find your layout is huge and this isn't providing enough power, you can simply buy a booster and plug it into there, and you would have to split your layout into two power sections. Again, I've not needed that, but it's good to know it's there if I do. This is your track connector, which obviously fits this, so that'll go to your layout track, and obviously power supply goes in there. So that's the Z21 box itself. This is just a standard off-the-shelf router that they've set up with certain settings to make it work straight out of the box. So it's really easy to set up. I'll show you that in a sec. And all you need to do for this one is just plug in the network cable and the power. In terms of the gumph that you get with it, let's go through it. Don't need that because it's just a plastic bag. No idea what this is because it's all in German. I think it's a German railway magazine, so we'll ignore that. I think this came with the router, and it's just about software licenses. Bin it. I would ignore this. This is just the default manual for the wireless router. You don't need this unless you're gonna fiddle about with it, which I did, but I'll mention more about that later. Again, this is for the router, and it's all about connecting it to the PC to configure it, which you don't need to do because, as I say, it's already set up. And this is the CD that's, again, for the wireless router, that you don't need to bother with because it's already set up. This is important, and that's German. So yeah, the manual on this bit is obviously translated into English. So all it's saying is connect your iPad to this Wi-Fi system, and to find out which Wi-Fi system it is, you'll find the name of it on the bottom of the router, and you'll also find the PIN number, password on the bottom of the router as well. So all you have to do, I'll show you later, is get your device, connect to the right Wi-Fi network, and it'll all work. So that's the quick setup guide, if you like. And then we've got the full manual here, which is quite detailed and goes into how what plugs into where, which I've just kind of explained really, but it's good to know it's all there. So what I've done, because there were, as I say, there were two leads with this, I've plugged one, soldered one onto my main layout. I actually soldered another one onto like a test track or a programming track. So what I think I'll do is get it all plugged in and show you how simple that is, and go through downloading the app and using that for the first time. So on it goes, and blue light means everything is good with the Z21. There is a emergency stop button, you can see that, which makes the light flash. This is obviously just representing the layout for the purposes of this demo. What I've done is just deleted the app from my device so I can start from scratch. I'll show you on the iPad, I will show you the iPhone later. So you just go App Store and just search for Z21. Try not to get too many reflections, and download it. Obviously cut the downloading bit out and open it once it's downloaded. So this is the initial screen. I'll take you through the basics, but first we need to get a train put in there, a loco put in there, so that we can control it. So you go into railed vehicle settings. Now these are just default ones that have been put in by Roco, and obviously they are their HO locos. Actually one good thing is before you even buy anything really, you can, if you do have an iPad or an iPhone or an Android device, you can go to the App Store and do this, search for Z21, download it, it's free, and you can have a play with the settings and at least get a feel for the app itself and see how good you think it is, and have a little play with it, and that might help you deciding whether you actually want to buy one of these. So yeah, you can get rid of these. You simply swipe and then delete to delete a loco. Adding one is simply pressing the plus and then pressing the loco. You see it's already appeared down here. We are going to add the Ginty in, so I should probably call it Ginty. I happen to know that it's address 6. I'll show you a bit of the basics of programming later. There's just so much to this system that it's not all going to fit in one video. What you can do is, we'll just do a quick example, is take a photo, and there we go. So you can see it's used the photo. Obviously when I do it properly I put it on a white background and line it up a bit better, but that's just to give you an idea. That's it really. That's the loco added. Obviously you can, if you've got DCC functions, go into this bit and there's icons, that's lights, or say if you had a horn sound you could choose which function it was from there, and there's loads of advanced settings that you can mess about with there, but for our purposes this is just the display of the speed in the controller. There's tons of settings to play around with. There's even a driver's cab view, so you can actually attach a camera. If you had a train with a camera on it, you can overlay the cab view and pretend to be driving it around from the cab on the iPad. So there's quite a depth to this system, which I'm just not going to be able to cover all of it now. So we have a loco. Now we need to control it. If we go into the big play button, you'll see if you hold the iPad this way, you just get one throttle, but if you hold it this way in landscape, you get two, and you can also flip one over, and this is to control points. So you could control the points. Obviously these are just example ones that are already put in. You could control your points over here and your loco over here. I do use it to control my points. I found it very good. So to choose the loco, you can flip along this bar here and choose it like that. You can simply swipe through them like that, and I'm not going to be able to show you both at the same time, so I'll have to do a bit of rearranging, I think. And so here's the train. It's going to be tricky, and here's the throttle. Nothing. Right, what I should have done is the only sort of setup step I've missed out. You can see here the big cross, which means this iPad is not actually connected to the Z21. So all you need to do is go into settings, Wi-Fi, look at the list, and there should be Z21 underscore something. Have a look on the bottom of the router, it'll tell you what it should be. Mine is Fred2, that's just because I've reconfigured it. And the password, it'll ask you for a password, is also on the bottom of the router. So once you've done that, if we switch back to the app, we've now got a green tick, so we're ready to go. So if we just find our Junti, so hopefully you can see both the controller and the loco. Oops. It's come off the end of the track, I think. But you get the idea. Obviously we can't really go very far with our little test track. But that is the throttle, and you can smoothly change the power, and you simply control the functions like that. Swipe between the locos, and it is very nice to use and very slick. And I think it's a great system. So hopefully you've seen how easy the initial setup is. Now I'll whiz through the rest of the menus and just give you a quick overview with as much info as I can in the brief time we've got. So when we set up the loco, we've seen this screen. It's where you add new locos and manage the existing ones. So yeah, there's many settings in there. You can even add things like wagons. The purpose being, I would assume, if you've got a wagon with a DCC function, you can obviously control it through there. So you can add things like DCC tamper, locos and things like that. The second one down, track control settings, is where you control your things like DCC points, and it's as simple as plus, add the control, select the type of control, and the DCC address. So if we add another one, and the idea is that you would take a picture of a section of your layout. So just for an example, we've done that in the shed. So then you would just drag the point over the photo, and if you hold down on it, that allows you to do things like rotate, make it bigger and smaller. So you could also do sort of a schematic drawing of the layout rather than using an actual photo, and then just import it into your photo library, and you could select it from there and use the diagram instead of the actual photo. So yeah, you can see you can do more complex things like composition route and occupancy detector, and if you wanted to add a note to a certain section, because you can have multiple, obviously you're not going to be able to fit, unless it's a simple loop, you're not going to be able to fit your whole layout onto one photo, so in which case you simply swipe across and start adding stuff to a new section. And what that looks like, if you go back into here, is that. So you can just swipe between the different control sections there, and you can take over the whole screen with it. Really smooth, really slick, and just switch back to a throttle, oops, like that. Like it, I like it a lot. So next we have CV programming. Very briefly, you can do things like read whatever's on the track at the moment. So you can see there it's read the loco address and a couple of CV values for that. If you wanted to program, very simple. So CV value 3, I believe, is acceleration. So you can see what the current setting is, and if you wanted to lower the acceleration rate in this case, you just put the new value in, and that's it. Simple as that. So if we go back in and read 3 again, it's accepted the new value because it's read it back to us. Obviously you need to know what all the different CV numbers are and what they mean, but it's really quick and simple to actually program them in, as you can see. Next, driver's cabs. This is a bit of a sort of a cool feature that you can overlay a cab, and if you've got you have to have a loco with a camera on it, but you can then drive it from a sort of cab view within the app. So you download the cabs there, and what you would do, for example, is go into here and configure the cab, and then in here, if we select that loco, you get a new button which is the cab view, and obviously you would have to actually have the loco with the camera on for this to work, but that just gives you a little idea of what you get. And don't know whether these controls will actually work. I'm not sure how you control this one, but you can see we're driving it from the cab and various cages are moving and stuff. So let's just press. I'm assuming this is the brake, but no idea. I think we've just got throttle. There we go. So that's what we can do, I believe. There we go, it shows you what areas are active. Wow, this is actually a lot more detailed than I thought. But I don't have an OBB Railjet Loco. Tempting to get one after seeing that, but I'm sure it's quite expensive. So yeah, that's a cool little add-on feature. Info, simple enough, just tells you what versions of the app and hardware firmware are installed. Export, very, very useful. If you've set up a load of locos and routes and points and things, then go into export and you can send it to another iPad or iPhone via that link, or you can email it. So you get a little .z21 file, and then if your iPad gets wiped or you get a new iPad or whatever, thankfully you can just import it from a document or from the other device that you synced it to. So very useful and highly recommended to back it up. What I will do now, because I obviously cleared everything down for this demo, I'll just re-import Bodden & Woods. So because I saved it to my iPhone, which I'm using to film, I had to turn the camera off, but basically this is what you get when it's received. And the reason I did that is just to show you that you can set up different layouts and select whichever one is currently active. So now I've got my actual locos back, and my Bodden & Woods sort of control system. So that's import, export, and switching between different layouts. You can fiddle with various other things, such as the address that the actual box uses and what the emergency stop button does. Various things, fairly self-explanatory, most of those. You can even make it make your layout stop if you get a phone call and you're controlling it with your iPhone. And these are the settings. Interestingly, it tells you the current consumption. I hadn't noticed that before. And yeah, various settings for you can control the track voltage. Not sure if that actually has any effect on the white box small Z21. I think that might be a black box Z21 feature. I'm sure I've read that somewhere, but please confirm it if that is something you're going to depend on. But yeah, that's a brief whiz through the Z21 and what it does, and how it works on the iPad. I'll just give you a quick demo of the iPhone. Briefly, you get all the same stuff. So you get the programming, but it's also split up into separate screens, obviously, so that whereas on the iPad it takes more advantage of the bigger screen. So just as you can see, it's the same stuff, but to get through to get to the railed vehicles, you go into settings here. So that's where you would add your new locos, your track controls, your import, your export, and exactly the same as the iPad. All the settings are there, and this is where you control it. Obviously you can only see one throttle at a time on the iPhone, but yeah, you get the same sort of thing The only difference is to switch. You go into there to get the controls up. Other than that, it's exactly the same. As I mentioned, there's two versions of this. The lower cost white version that you can get split from a train set, and the standalone, more expensive black set with the capital Z. Let's have a quick look at the differences. So apart from the colour on the front, they are the same. However, if we look at the back, we can see the black version has more connectors on the back. So looking from left to right, the first thing you notice is the CAN port, CAN. Now, as far as I'm aware, the CAN port is for connecting additional controllers that support that type of bus, such as certain Zemo controllers. Again, it's not something I've needed to do. I purely use the iPad and the iPhone. So if you do have other handheld controllers that you need to support, then you may well need the black version, but otherwise you can opt for the cheaper one. So next we have the LAN port, which is the same. You get an extra XBus port on the black version, so you could have another handheld controller that supports the XBus plugged into that. And you also get the RBus, which is the same. Now the LBus on the black version is another extra, and that is a LocoNet connector. So again, handheld controllers that support the LocoNet bus. There are many other sort of modules that support that. So if you need LocoNet connections, then again you need to get the more expensive one. But if that means nothing to you, then you're probably okay with the lower cost white version. There's many things that support LocoNet. Occupancy detectors, as I say, controllers, different infrared modules, all kinds of complicated stuff. And the final difference you'll notice on the back of the black version is that we've got 3 connectors to plug the track into. Now the N2, prog and main, is just really a convenience thing, so you can have a separate programming track, and if you get a new loco, you don't have to take all the locos off your main track to program it. However, with the white version you can do what I do, which is just unplug the main layout and plug the programming track in. So you can leave everything on the main layout and just unplug it and plug a separate bit of track in just for programming. Or you could wire up two sets of wires to the same little green connector and just have a switch. If you didn't want to keep unplugging things, you could just switch between the main layout and the programming track and do it that way. So not really, it's just a convenience thing really. Now the other one, the Sniff Bus, what that does, it allows you to plug the track output from another DCC control unit into the Z21, and it will try and read what's going on that track basically. So it's reading, it's sort of sniffing out what's going on the other system. So if you had an old legacy system that was an old DCC system that you wanted to retain, you could plug that in to the back of the black Z21, and you can sort of take over control using the old system, and it would read what was going on and still understand what was going on the Z21. So I'd say by and large, if terms like CAN bus and LocoNet mean nothing to you, and you've no intention of using other types of handheld controllers, other than X-Bus compatible ones, then you'd be perfectly fine with the white version. It's still a hugely capable system, and if those terms do mean something to you, then you'll probably already know that you do need the black version anyway. In conclusion then, because this is the longest video I've ever made, I think, we must wrap up. But yeah, despite it being the longest video I've ever made, we've hardly sort of scratched the surface of what the Z21 can do. But I'll just say I highly recommend it. It's never let me down. It's been really reliable to connect and control the trains. I've had no glitches with it, and most importantly, it's been really fun to use, and I've enjoyed it. Just makes the running sessions more enjoyable, and sort of it's one less thing to get in the way and go wrong. It's just been a fantastic system. So thanks for watching. I will see you soon.